This week on the OneCast, we're joined by country musician and kayak pro angler Abby Abbondanza.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Trey didn't look at me this time. There it is. What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the OneCast, episode 69. Super excited this week to be joined by kayak pro Abby Abbondanza. But before we bring him on to talk kayak fishing, his journey into the fishing world, how he used to sneak onto the private lake that I live on in Pennsylvania to catch our fish, we want to make sure that you head over to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast at checkout. All one word. That'll save you 10% off snagless jigs, long neck hooks, weedless neds, the soft plastics, all of that. Make sure you get over there. Join the snagless revolution. OneCastFishing.com.
And it's also got the OneCast merch on there as well.
That's right. Our merch is on there as well. Ben was nice enough to put that on his store. So we got a few hats left, some shirts. So if you haven't got yours yet, make sure you head over there and get that.
Speaking of hats and shirts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speaking of hats and shirts, that's a better segue now.
So I'm actually wearing a Carolina Waters shirt today. Actually, this one's cool. This was a co-opted one with the two ball biologists. If you guys remember, we had biologist Corey Oakley on and his compadre later on in the year. Actually, it was this year, Seth Micah. And Carolina Waters offers you guys a variety of UPF gear, all sorts of outdoor apparel to include hats, some new things coming to help with those UV rays. But nevertheless, man, their shirts are fire. Their hats are great. Pete's wearing one of their hats right now. So head on over to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast. You're going to save a little change at checkout.
And it's not just for North Carolina. It's good luck everywhere. David Fuchs' wife, Christine, just won their local club derby, rocking a Carolina Waters hat. So it brings good luck. Their hats and ours have brought a lot of good luck to some folks. So if you haven't got those yet, make sure you do. And if you're not protecting your eyes while you're out there on the water, whether it's low light, good light, whatever it is, if you're tired of losing glasses when they blow off your head, if you're a kayak guy, you bend over to get something, they fall off into the water, whatever it is, check out Hobie Eyewear. Hobie Eyewear has the float series. We put them to the test, both in videos where we chuck them in the water. Trey's blew off of his, or he pulled his toboggan off, or whatever you call it, beanie.
Toboggan.
At a tournament recently, and they flew into the water. All I had to do was throw the boat in reverse. They were floating right there. The Sightmaster for, lenses are absolutely legit. If you want a low light fish, if you don't have good sun, you're bed fishing, or even just to protect your eyes in those conditions, but especially if you're fishing low light and trying to sight fish, those Sightmasters are money. I was able to fish an entire day where it basically rained and was cloudy the whole day, and I could see fish like it was a sunny bluebird day. It was awesome.
Use you already said use the link, right?
Nope, I was getting there. Use the link in the description below. Whatever you're listening on should have the link in it. Click that link. If not, if you go to any of our socials, our link tree is in there. You can go to that link. It'll save you 15% off. So those glasses end up being about $83 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're high quality. We've had the folks from Hobie on. Go listen to that episode if you haven't. They've talked about their lens technology. And get you a pair or 5.
I just have to say this, and Hobie doesn't market it this way, but our team partners, or our house partners, Mike and Nick, won the last tournament, and the cool thing is we let them borrow some of our Hobie sunglasses, right? And so Mike and Nick were able to win that tournament. And I'm just going to say that Hobie sunglasses provided them good luck that day. And Mike turned around that evening and ordered him a pair using the link. So definitely check that out. They could bring you some good luck.
That link will save you some money and it helps us out. So if you can use that, if you're going to buy some, and all of their glasses are awesome. They have prescription. You can do all of that. They're lifestyle. If you aren't an angler, you're coming across this, or you want to get a pair for your wife or kids. I know Trey got his wife a couple pairs.
My kids too.
His kids got glasses. My wife ordered some of the prescription regular frame glasses that are really sweet. So make sure you check them out.
Also, you guys need to check out Eric Schwind. He serves the Sandhills area here in North Carolina with Mossy Oak Properties. You want to change your lifestyle, you're looking to get into your own little piece of paradise, you can shoot our friend Eric a message at 936-494-9686 or shoot him an email at ESCHWIND at MossioProperties.com. He's got a world of properties, residential properties, and just land. If you're looking just for that, if you're an avid outdoorsman or you're just looking to move out of that concrete jungle, hit our buddy up at Mossio Properties. He's going to get you squared away.
Yep. And speaking of winning, this is we didn't even talk about this when we got in here before the show. Jacob Wheeler absolutely continues to dominate the BPT. I don't know if anybody else will win an event there. Admittedly, that is his favorite lake to fish, and he said it for quite a few years. But he went out there and stole the show and won another one. And number 8 total, and I think 3 this year, 2 this year. He's won 2 of the events. DC's won the other 2.
If you're placing bets, it's either going to be Wheeler, DC, or Alton Jones Jr. Probably.
I'll tell you what, it'd be hard to be in that house if you weren't one of those guys, wouldn't it be?
It would be.
You know
tough.
what I mean? It'd be a little tough. But
and also before we bring Abby on, John Garrett, big congrats to him.
Yep. Another rookie.
One down there on the Harris chain on a moved event, so they ended up a championship Monday because of the weather. And he was the most consistent guy the whole week. There was
wire to
wire, very consistent. If you look at his weights,
I think it was 24, 19, 19, and 21.
Yeah. So like he was on him. A lot of folks couldn't figure it out. It took a very small, it wasn't even 20 pounds. I think barely 20 pounds to make the cut, which on the Harris chain is unheard of. So congrats to John though. He stuck it out. I don't know John personally, John Garrett, but I've heard nothing but good things about him. He's very well respected. And
he's been working his butt off.
Yeah. Fish. He's a guy. If you're a young guy listening, high school, college, opens, qualified, and now he's lived that dream and hoisted that blue trophy. So pretty awesome stuff.
I think the most special tournament win in our local area that I want to highlight is, our friend Marty Stone and his son won the Anglers Choice event on Bugs Island. In fact, they won back-to-back events because they won a cat.
They won the cat. They took first in the Angler's Choice, and then the second Angler's Choice, they took second.
So they are
heck of a run.
Your consistent hammers, but I think the most special thing that Marty talked about was he got to spend that time with his son and create those memories. So getting that W is very special, but I think the more important story here was spending that quality.
And we're going to have a really cool episode coming with Marty from his house, because he lives in the country, doesn't have great service.
Yep.
So we're going to take this show on the road and record an episode. And
over bourbon
and steak, he said. Yeah. So looking forward to hanging out with Marty. He's a great guy. He's a huge advocate for fishing and for North Carolina bass. But without any further ado, Abby's got a big tournament win this year. He won the Hobie BOS on Logan Martin, wire to wire on that one, on Trey's favorite bait, chatterbait, the whole time. So I'm gonna bring Abby on. What's going on, Abby?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm good.
I was just talking about how you won that Logan Martin event on Trey's favorite bait, the chatterbait.
Love me a jackhammer.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to teach him the ways, man. But
listen, man, I've used the bladed jig numerous times, and you know what? It's a great bait, dude. It is a great bait. But if I can get away with throwing a spinner bait before a chatterbait, I'm going to absolutely do it. I don't hate the bait. And in fact, I promised our listeners, Abby, this year that I would throw the chatterbait and do my best to catch fish on it. And I still have caught fish, Pete. So don't be throwing me under the bus.
Yeah. So Abby, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. I gave a brief introduction. You don't have to go all the way back into when you used to trespass on our local lake, to fish down there. But if you want to, you can. But if you want to just go ahead and introduce yourself to anybody who may not know who you are.
Well, I did cut my teeth at that lake. That Lonesome Valley Lake, it's called. And I did have permission from Jeff Johns. So
okay, we're good then. We're good.
But my favorite bait to throw there was a spinner bait. And it's funny how introduction real quick. My background is music. Pete, that's where I met you from, and I toured all across the country for 7 years. I think I just added it up it was not too long ago. It was like 7 or 8 states I haven't played in. And, but we had a major label deal from 2005, 2008, signed a solo deal after the band split up in 2008. 3 months later, the label re-signed me to a deal. And then I did that for 2.5 years. And I put the band back together. basically all of us except one guy, and named it the Hillbilly Way, short THW. You can find music on Spotify, iTunes under THW and the Hillbilly Way. But you know, if you ask me what I want to do growing up, it was be a professional fisherman. Since I was the age of 9. I literally grew up watching. My weekends consisted of Ma and Pa Kettle, Abbott and Costello, and Bill Dance, Babe Winkleman, Roland Martin, and Bassmaster. I mean, I woke up every weekend to watch those shows, and you know, so fishing has been. It's kind of weird how music has led me through everything to get to where I'm at right now with fishing, and you know, it has allowed me to network with people that, you know, including my consulting job that I have. I own a consulting business for oil and gas, and I do that so I can fish full time basically now. And so it's just, I still play music, but I only do acoustic shows now. You know, it got too hard with the band because we still have an agent in Nashville that has offered us a few shows this year. I had to turn them down because they were weekends of the tournaments. And so you kind of can see what's prevailing now.
Yeah.
Fishing is prevailing for me. And, you know, I didn't start kayak fishing until I was in the boat world even before I got into music. I was fishing boat tournaments as a rider. And then, you know, when the band happened, that got so busy, we were touring 285 dates a year. So I had no time to fish off a boat whatsoever. I was literally just taking rods with Jeff, and I would take rods with us on the bus, and wherever we were playing, we'd find a lake nearby. And then when the band broke up and things started slowing down, I got back into boat tournaments, and it was about 3.5 years ago. Adam Milstead, who was a UFC fighter, he's the one that got me introduced to kayak fishing. He kept on saying, "Man, you need to come over here to the kayak world. It's blowing up." And I said, "A kayak?" And he goes, "Well, I'm 6'4" too." I said, "I know." I just don't imagine myself in a kayak.
Yep.
And at that time, I had never seen a fishing kayak. So he had 2 Jacksons. He brought down 2 big rigs, and that was it. I had a Hobie PA 180, literally PA 14 180 a week later.
You just fell in love that quick.
Yeah. And then I had the Hobie for about 4 months, and then I found a 360. I turned around and sold my Hobie for what I got more what I paid for it. And I paid less for the Hobie 360. So I ended up making a couple $100. And then soon to realize that wasn't the right kayak for me. I loved the technology with the fins and everything, but stable wise, it wasn't when I got the Titan, the native Titan was it for me. I can walk around, I can turn around, the boat doesn't move. And then end up signing a deal with them about 1.5 years ago, and got asked to be on the design team for the new Titan X. And
awesome.
that boat there, when you put a motor on that boat is a beast. It becomes a whole new entity. So that's what I'm fishing out of, and I'm going to remain fishing out of, is the Titan X. And so yeah, it's kind of weird to think how far it's progressed for me in such a short time. I think I was in a kayak for maybe 2 months, and I started in tournaments with Adam, local stuff, kayak angler, Laurel Highlands, kind of like kayak angler, PA Bass Nation stuff. And then literally I did that summer in the fall, and in the following year, I went full steam. I went right into the national stuff. And I think my 3rd tournament, I took 5th out at Susky.
Okay.
And, I was set up to win that tournament. I was sitting in 2nd place on day 1. and I was only down by 2.5 inches under Nolan Minor. And it was funny because Nolan was right above me about a mile, and then there was me in second, and then his brother was in fourth or fifth, right below me about a mile. And then his brother ended up coming in second, and I took fifth. But my fish just weren't there on day two.
Day two.
So, but yeah, we were just talking about this, going back to the wind. They're far and few and in between. I mean, even in the boat world, you know that.
Oh yeah.
You know, it takes a lot for 2 days to come together. And I've had bad practices where day of tournament, it changed, you know, for the better. And this is the first time at Logan Martin that, so I fished with Jody Queen all week.
Yeah.
He was my housemate that week, and you know, Jody and I do fish together a good bit. And I said, "What do you want to do?" And he goes, "Alice." I said, "Well, I got some info, you know, a while back. My buddy's from Alabama, and so I went and checked out. We went and checked out this creek, and man, the bay that we caught all those fish in on day 1 and 2. During practice, there was the last 4 docks where I secured the win. I caught 3 big fish off of in the last day. There was 8 inches of waters on those dock on Wednesday. Practice. On Friday night, we got the lake came up 3 feet. So I remember at dinner on Friday night, we were sitting there, and me, Tim Isaac, Casey Reed, and Jody. And I said to Jody, I said, "Man," I said, "if that water comes up 3 feet, those docks are going to come and play back there." Because that water was really warm back here. It was like 8 degrees warmer than the creek channel. And so we went back there first day, and we waited till the sun came up. Right off in the morning, I caught 2 spots, which I only caught 1 spot all week. The whole lake's full of spots.
Yeah.
All week. And I did catch 1 5-pound spot during practice, and not in the area that we were, though. But my first 2 fish on day 1 were an 18, 19-inch spot in a foot of water, literally a foot of water. And so we go back to this bay. We get back there on, it was probably about 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that. It was around 10:30. And Jody, we just went off the creek channel. There's a big swing in a river or creek bend. And it goes back in this bay. And there's probably about 20 docks back here, 22 docks. And there was a handful of docks on the right. And Jody just started going over that way. So I started on the left. And the third dock in, I caught an 18 and a half off of, there's a lady standing there doing her mulch, and they had a boat ramp, and I caught it right off the boat ramp, probably another 2 feet of water. And so I threw nothing but a jackhammer all week. I could have literally, that and a shaky head. I could have, my arms are so sore by day 1. And I know that I've learned really quick. Pete, you know this from being up north. This is the finesse game up here a lot of times. And so my power fishing, it was mediocre at best when I started this national stuff. I learned real quick in the first 2 tournaments, I need to be power fishing 90% of the time. And that's why I started picking up the jackhammer all the time, because I'll fish that bait all day knowing that I'll only get 5 bites, but it's going to be the right 5 bites I need. And that's exactly what it was literally on day 1 at Logan Bar. I had 5 bites, and they were 5 fish I needed. And I ended up catching probably a 6.5 pounder right after that 18 and a half, 2 docks down from that. And Jody at this time didn't know that I caught those 2. And I forget where. I'm sorry. I had 6 bites. I left that dock where I caught a 6.5 pounder, and I'm catching a 14-inch right around the other side of it. And I come back out, and Jody was already behind me almost. And I turned around. I said, dude, I got my limit. And he's like, what? I said, I told him what I had. And he was like, holy cow. He said, he goes, where'd you catch them? I said, literally within those 3 docks right there. And
was he like, I went the wrong way this morning?
Yeah.
Why'd I go right?
yeah, he was actually catching some fish behind me because he was throwing a shaky head. And
Okay.
on day 1, I wasn't picking apart the docks. I was literally making 2 casts, maybe 3 at the docks, skipping under the docks. And if they weren't there, I was to the next dock. And a big thing that did help me was I was live scoping the docks. So if I live scoped real quick, saw there was a fish there, I spent time there. If I didn't see anything big, I moved on. So that did help me a lot. And then with 3 minutes to go on day one, we were going out back towards the ramp. And I said, I'm going to cut over this bay over here where we pre-fished over there. I had caught a couple decent fish over there. And so I was trying to get rid of that 14-inch. And there was a little channel, creek channel came out, probably about, 20, 25 yards wide. And there was a boat dock right on the corner of the channel, of the end of the channel. And I threw to the side of the boat dock, and I missed a pretty good fish. And so I was pretty upset, and I'm fixing my razor shad on my jackhammer, and I literally skipped right to the side underneath the first rung, and I caught a 17. So I had 2.5 minutes left in the tournament. I called. So that put me in first place. I was tied. I was down 1/2 inch. I was in second place, and that put me in first place for the day. And then day 2, I struggled the first hour and a half. Jody and I pull up on, there was this current seam in the middle of the lake, and coming off the bank, it was like a jetty, and the water had come up. Now it's 4 feet high from Friday.
Oh, wow.
So now that jetty's underwater, now there's a current seam there, and there's a current break going the whole way out about 200 yards into the lake. So we had fished that pretty good during practice and caught some pretty good spots off. He caught some pretty good spots off it. I caught largemouth, and he pulled. We're literally side by side, 10 feet apart, throwing 20-yard in a 20-yard area. He pulls out 3 fish right in front of me. Same shaky head. We're both throwing bang sticks on a shaky head, and literally pulls 3. Now I'm getting frustrated.
Yeah. So
I said, Jody, I said, I gotta go. I said, I gotta leave. I gotta go put that jacket.
I gotta get away from you, bro.
Yeah. Well, he talked me off a ledge like 10 times. He's like, dude, just fish, because that's a catch-22 when you're in the lead on day 1, because now you're starting to question everything you're doing, going into day. And then that happens. He catches 3 fish right in front of me, and I'm still with no fish. And so I leave there, and I went back to that bay where I called with 2.5 minutes ago in day 1. I knew I'd missed that good fish on that dock. So I went back here, and second cast, I caught that fish. It was a 19.5 inch largemouth. And so I started that off, and then it was about another hour before I got another fish. Right where I caught the 2 spots the day before on this island, there were some docks on the far side that we'd never fished. Even in practice, we didn't fish them. I don't know why we didn't, but we just never hit them. So I skated over there. I was waiting for Jody to go towards that bay. We had another mile to go up the creek to get to that bay that we were on day 1. So I was waiting for him. So I scooted over there and ended up catching a spot that was 16 inches on a boat ramp. So I said, okay.
You never
well,
pass a boat ramp. I tell everybody, you never pass a boat ramp.
and by the way, I caught the 19 and a half and the 16 spot on my jackhammer. So, Jody finally catches up with me, and we go back to the bay. And he, at that time, he had 4 fish. Now he has 4 fish, and I only had 2. And so we get back to the bay, and I said, well, how do you want to do this today? Because he knows these docks are the good docks over here.
Yeah.
So he goes, man, he goes, just fish. He goes, don't worry about me. He goes, go win this thing, And I said, well, I'll tell you what, take these first 5, 6 docks. I'll go down another. I ended up going down like 8 or 9 docks. And, because I really respect Jody, and that's a tough situation to be in when you're fishing the same stuff. And
yeah,
I wanted him to have a chance too, and he was setting up the caster check. And so I go back, the first 2 docks I didn't catch anything on. I get back to these docks that I was talking about, the 8 inches back on Wednesday, and I still haven't fished these docks yet. I didn't even get to them on day 1. And so I go back there, and now there's 4 feet of water on them. So it went from 8 inches with me. I couldn't even get 100 yards from them on Wednesday during practice. So now Jody and I were talking about this to back up to day 1. There was a 150 boat tournament that day on day 1. Not one boat or one kayak guy was in that bay. And I know why. They went back there probably during pre-fishing.
Yep.
And saw there was no water back there. But all those docks in the back had almost 4 feet of water on them now. Some of them had over 4 feet. So I get to this one big dock, and it was the 3rd dock I fished. And I skipped my chatterbait, my jackhammer underneath there, and I get this. Like, I feel the jackhammer just move to the side, And I was like, that was weird. Didn't eat it. I knew it was a fish.
Yeah.
And but it didn't bite it. It didn't grab it. Like, it didn't pull on it. And so I skipped back under there, and I ended up catching it. It was a 20, and I think it was a 20 or 3/4 inch large.
Yeah, that's a good fish.
Yeah.
It was a 20 and a 1/4, I think it was. And so now there's one kayak back there on day 2. He never fished a tournament, so he knows nothing about fishing, like tournaments and everything. And he was about 70 yards across the bay from me on this one dock, and he's watching me catch his fish. And so he spent probably a half an hour on this dock, so I knew he knew there was probably a pretty good fish there. So I went around that dock where I caught the 20. It was a pretty big dock, so I went around the other side, and the poles are like 4 feet apart, and there was lanes. There was like 4 lanes on each dock. So I'm out front, okay. And I'm skipping the whole way to the back skipping that jackhammer the whole way to the back. And they're pretty deep docks, like 25, 30 feet deep. And it's from front to back, I mean. And I get another. So I'm like, man, there's no way that's that same fish. So I skip it back under. Again, it hits it. I was like, what the heck? So I skip it back under. This time I speed it up. And I end up catching, it was a 17-inch largemouth. So now I have 4 fish. I'm in second place with, I'm in 3rd place with 4 fish. And I knew if I caught this next fish that even if it was a 15-inch fish, I was going to be in the lead by a couple inches. So that guy leaves that dock that I'm talking about. I go fish another dock.
He never caught the fish he was fishing for it.
And I did. It was a hunch.
Yeah.
Why else would you spend? Now, at this time, I didn't know that was only his first tournament, these fish.
I got you.
So we talking back at the boat ramp. But he was there a good half hour, and he kept on going to Like it was another big dock. It was real wide. And so he leaves out. I go fish another dock. No good there. He left that dock. He's not around. He's like 4 docks up from there now. So I slide over to that dock he was on. And I skipped down the first like aisleway and nothing. I go to the middle one. I skip down the whole way to the back. And I mean, I'm like right up against the back. And I come through, and about halfway through, I was like, damn it. So again, 3 times. 3 times he did this. Okay. So I stopped. I went around the side, and there was 2 aisleways under the main part of the dock. So I went to the back aisleway and it was probably about 25 feet across. I skipped it the whole way out the other side, and I burned it through there. And I ended up catching that fish, and it was a 19 another 19 and a half inch largemouth that weighed about 5 pounds. So I don't think he was too happy.
Did he see this happen?
Oh yeah, because he left that dock and he was coming back to go to these other docks, and he was probably like over my right shoulder when he saw me fighting the fish, and I just see him shaking his head. He is, but I imagine he was probably having that problem where that fish kept on just, and what it is, I don't know. Like you said, you had a biologist on there. I don't know if he talked about the spawn or anything, but I learned this by watching a documentary. When you start feeling that, I've had that happen before. Well, they'll just punch it with their nose. They'll ram it, and a big female goes in. She'll clear out an area where the male's gonna make the bed. She'll go in first and kill all the bluegill, all the crappie, anything that's around there. She wants out of there, and that's what they do. They knock them, they stun them, and then they go back and eat them after they stun them. So I didn't realize that until I watched that documentary about what a female bass does to get her nesting area ready. And then the light bulb started going off after the second time that 17-inch fish did it. I was like, okay, so there's big females moving under here. The water temperature was 60 degrees. It was 7 degrees warmer back there than it was out in the creek channel. Yep. So they weren't on beds, but they were in that mode.
They were getting ready.
Yeah. And so I had to take a second because after I submitted that fish, I was up by 10 inches, or 10 and a half inches, something like that. And it was 10 and a half because Joe McElroy ended up catching another fish that, no, I'm sorry. It was 12 inches because he ended up catching another fish that gave him a 2-inch call. And I won the tournament by 10 inches. So at that point, I had to take a moment and just sit there and just realize.
Just soak it all up, dude.
Because from the time I caught that 20 and a quarter to that 19 and a half inches, it was only 25 minutes. I literally caught this fish in 25 minutes, all 3 of them.
How much time was left after you caught your 5th fish?
I was 11:45.
Oh wow.
So on day 2, we purposely waited on day 2 till 11 o'clock to go back there. We wanted that. We realized on day 1 after that sun, there was a hillside here with houses on it.
Yeah.
And after that sun got up over that hillside, that's when that bite came on. And so we purposely waited till 11 o'clock to go back there. And the sun was just right. It was bright and sunny on day 2. And all those fish just pushed under those docks. And these are docks I couldn't even get to within 100 yards of on Wednesday during pre-fishing. And so I go over to Jody and I was like, and he didn't know. And I took a minute, I took a breath and I was like, man, I said, I think I just won this. And he stopped and he looked at me, he goes, are you serious? I said, I'm up 12 inches over second place. He said, holy cow, dude. And he goes, what'd you catch back here? I said, I just caught 3 giants back here. And a 20 and a quarter and a 17 and 19 and a half. And For Jody to ask me this, he goes, "What are you doing different than I'm doing?" Because he was doing the same exact thing. I mean, we both found these fish. Every fish we found together, and we're both throwing a shakehead and jackhammer, same colors, everything, and it was just the only thing that I had going on different on my side was I was throwing a razor shad and he was throwing a chatter spike as the trailer, both in fire craw. We were both throwing a green pumpkin jackhammer. Actually, it was a green pumpkin jackhammer and an EVO. So the only difference was the razor shad. The only thing I could think of, maybe because that water was muddy, a little muddy, that maybe just dispersed a little bit more water.
Yeah.
Than chatter spike did. So he goes, I have a hard time believing that's what it is. I said, that's the only thing separating you and I right now from the. I said, I have one razor shad left. I gave it to him. I said, I'm going to give it to Bay. I'm going to leave. And he goes, you sure you want to stay back? I said, dude, no. I said, I have a 17-inch fish I got to call. That was it. And I said, but I got 12 inches on Joe. And Joe, I had him by 7 inches on day one. So there was only another guy that, and he does a sandbag. And he only had like 70 something inches. So I knew there was a slim chance that anybody was going to catch me. But there's always that chance, you hate to.
Oh, yeah. It ain't over until it's over.
Yeah. But I had caught 93.5 inches on day two. I had 2.5 inches more than I did on day one.
Wow.
So I told Jody, I said, I said, stay here, fish till 3:00 because these fish are just keep reloading. So after I gave him that razor shad, he ended up calling. He got a 19.5 and a 16.5. So he ended up taking ninth place. He cut a check, and I think they paid the top 15. And but if anything was the difference, that's the only thing that was different between him and I. What we were, and the only reason was he just didn't have any razor shads. And so go ahead.
Yeah, so it's interesting you talk about that. I think we talked about it on our last Fishing Friday Live. We fished Pete and I fished the Fishers and Men Trail up here, and there's a lot of hammers that fish that deal. Our first tournament was I had the cadence, and we were throwing the exact same bait. The second tournament, we were throwing slightly different baits, but I think it was all about how the bait was being worked, the location where the bait was being thrown. Everything was relatively the same, except for just the way that, Pete and I were working the baits in different scenarios. Right. And so you talked about your retrieve after having those fish slap at it so many times, and you just may have had the perfect retrieve under that dock, dispersing the amount of water that blade needed to disperse with that right soft plastic on the back that you talked about. And it was your time, dude. We talk about that.
We talk about it all.
We talk about it all the time. Like our house partners, Mike Nadu and Nick Kincaid, just won, up at Lake Gaston with 18.5 pounds, almost 19 pounds. And it was their day, dude. Like they just had it absolutely dialed in. And just like you talked about giving Abby your last soft plastic, our house partners did the same thing for us, just to get us, huh?
He gave Jody. He's Abby.
No. Oh yeah. Jeez, my bad.
It's been a long day.
I would expect that from Jody.
So, but you gave Jody that last soft plastic. Nick gave us soft plastics just so we could get our fifth fish. So it's just really interesting how that works out, man. When it's your time, and that's why you got that hardware sitting behind you right now, dude. So huge congratulations on figuring it out.
It is really, because it is really tough to put 2 days together.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably been in a position to win probably 12 to 14 times where I've been in the top 10 and just couldn't make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now opposite Kentucky Lake last year, I was sitting in 35th on day one. Thursday night, and literally at 7:00 in the evening, my buddy and I, John Klein, we found a pattern at 7:00 in the evening because I just didn't have anything that was. I had a decent largemouth pattern, but nothing that was legit. And I told John going down there, I said, man, I want to get on a smallmouth again because I'm pretty much a smallmouth guy. And
I understand.
Yeah. And
there ain't no smallmouth in Pete's Pond, Abby.
there's a lot of weeds in that pond.
There is.
And so on Thursday night, we both caught 90 something inches of smallmouth.
Oh my Lord.
Wow.
At 7:00 in the evening. Because Ryan Lambert called me. He's like, dude, where are you guys at? Because we all stay together when we fish tournaments together. And I said, I'm trying to put something together. I said, I just found a big school smallmouth. He's like, you're chasing ghosts. They're different now.
those are Asian carp.
Yeah. And so we on a swim bait on a minnows, 3-inch minnows, we wrecked them. It was one after the other. And it was only on a 150-yard flat wide, and it was like a round cove. Went from cove to Marina Cove, and the face of it just went from 3 feet down to 8 feet on a gradual slope. And I think from the boats going out and in, and the way the current was coming, it just held that bait on that flat. And no smallmouth. They were there on day one. I just couldn't get. We had 17-mile-an-hour winds on day one, and it had like 3-4 footers. The way that sat there, with all that traffic coming through there, and then the wind blowing right into it, there was 3-4 footers coming in there, and it was hard to stay out there because at the time you were only able to use pedals. And so I'd go out and check them every half hour. I'd come out of a marina. It was a huge marina that I was fishing. And where I already had a bag of largemouth on day one, but I would go out every half hour and check those smallmouth, and I could see them. They were there doing the same thing they were the day before on Thursday, but they would just not eat. And I know it was because of that rough water. So day two, go out there, and I'm in 35th place. And we get up on this flat. John and I go side by side on this flat. As soon as we get up on the flat, we come up out of deep water onto the flat and around the corner from the marina. And I had a beer run minnows on Z-Man minnows and caught a 19 right off the bat. And it was bright bluebird skies, 5-mile-an-hour wind.
Perfect smallie conditions.
We were rigging the day before, and Ryan had said to me, he said, "You're going to go chase those smallmouth?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Man, bluebird skies, sunny." I said, and it was rough all day yesterday. Those fish are going to eat today.
Oh, yeah.
That's like Lake Erie 101, huh?
They're different down here in the south. He said, these smallmouth here are ghosts. And so while we were standing there, I tied on a Z-Man Fatty Z peanut butter and jelly, because I know up here, anytime you have that grape color, that purple, and when it's sunny out, they kill it up here with the smallmouth.
Mm-hmm.
So I fished the next hour. I could not catch another fish on a swim bait. I turn around and I pick up and what I would do is power pull down, facing out on that flat, and I picked up the Fatty Z. And the first, it just train wrecked it, and I ended up catching my limit in like probably 6 minutes.
Good Lord.
And I caught, I think it was 90 inches of smallmouth on day two. And I was in second place up until the last 25 minutes. And that Jackson Orb bumped me back to the third. So I went from 35th to third just by a big bag of smallmouth, so.
You're living by Ike's methodology of never give up. You know what I mean?
No, I have learned.
Got to keep fishing.
I've learned a lot. My first year, I learned so much it is 90% a mental game.
Yep.
It 100%, not without a doubt, it is a mental game.
So you don't like break rods and curse and stuff. You just sit down and eat a sandwich.
There might be some curse words that go out.
Why you look at me, man?
Hey, listen.
Let
me tell a story real quick. So Pete loses an absolute Tankosaurus Rex, like a week ago off of bed. The fish was every bit of 9 pounds or better. And the GoPro footage cannot be released due to the vulgarity of what happened. And I usually don't do that. It's few far in between. I take these nice injections to calm my nerves anyway. So
like he said, this fish was every bit of 9. I think it was bigger, but you can't tell.
It was a 10-pounder.
So I have it, ate off the bed. I have it 5 feet from the boat. I'm trying to keep it. My mistake was I tried to force it down because I didn't want to come up. And when it turned to come up, it got leverage. And with a big fish like that, I know better, but I was panicking. And so it threw the hook. So I stood up and immediately just slammed the rod down on the deck. And then there was a 4-letter word that starts with an F that I yelled very loud.
Ends with a
and threw my hat, threw a complete temper tantrum.
People on the bank.
There was literally a guy like I'm back in this cut like you're talking about, like way back. There's no houses or anything around. And I get done with this and I look up and there's just this dude up in the woods that was like out on his Saturday morning hike. And he's just standing up there looking at me, and he just turned around and walked away.
Shook it like straight shame, dude. Straight
shame. Yeah.
But you know what? But that kind of stuff happens, and it happened to me on Sunday, and I lost an absolute giant. And I pulled a Pete. I didn't throw my rod, but I said those 4-letter words for the whole lake to hear me. And what I should have done was just sat down and ate a sandwich.
Yeah.
But one of the things, we got a lot of kayak anglers that love to listen to this show, and we've actually had some kayak anglers on too.
You talked about Casey's been on. We've had Corey Dreyer. Yep. I keep wanting to get Jody, but he lives out there in the mountains, doesn't have great internet, so I'm trying to work out when he's on the road or somewhere that has a little bit better service. But you've been doing go ahead, bro.
No, go ahead.
So you've been doing this for quite some time, and so you talked about fishing with Jody and your other buddy on Kentucky Lake. What was it? You said John or
John Klein? Yeah.
Yeah, John. So, but when we talked to John Cruz about this as well, like fishing, having a house that practices together, obviously with, ground rules and stuff like that. But for, it seems no different in the kayak angling realm. Can you kind of talk about that for our kayak anglers that are either in tournament fishing or just getting into it? Because we've had a lot that just got into it. Pete's wife just got into it. In fact, she's fished her first or second CCKF tournament. So how important is it for you to travel with somebody, to break a body of water down with somebody? And then what does that dynamic look like? Like, do you guys set ground rules when you're on the water, or is it just like a mutual respect thing?
I mean, yeah. So going back to etiquette real quick. So the guy who, going back to that the Logan Martin tournament, Jody actually went over to that guy because that guy kept on fishing our docks. Did you guys lose service?
No, you're good. He's just grabbing me a water.
Oh, sorry. Jody, that guy started going in between Jody and I on day 2, and Jody said to him, "Hey, Abby's in the lead. I'm right there cashing a check." He said, "Do you mind if we just, we were only ones back here yesterday and pre-fishing. Do you mind if we just keep these docks here to ourselves? Those ones over there, you can go fish." He's like, "No, I'm just going to work in between you guys." I was like,
wow.
Okay. It's a technique.
Yeah. And, but, you always have those guys that I have run across a lot, and I've run across it way more in the boat world than I have
in
the kayak world. Usually it's a boat guy when I'm kayak fishing.
I could see that.
I had words with a guy last year. I was fishing a dock, and I was sitting on his dock because I knew there was big fish on it. I'd caught some big fish on pre-fish, and I was just waiting for him to start eating. And this guy comes in on the side and starts throwing. I was like, dude, what are you doing? I said, I'm fishing this dock. He goes, well, now I'm fishing it too. Well, I stood up.
I was gonna say,
I would have left if you stood up. I'm just saying.
Like, do you see how tall I am?
You guys can Google Abby. He's a big dude.
I can't catch as many fish as tall as my inches are. So sit back down in your boat.
I stood up so he could see me over because he was around. I was on the corner. I was out front. He was around the side. And I said, I think, you need to just have some etiquette and leave. And I was saying that when I was sitting down, and I stood up. And then when I stood up, then his attitude changed. He's like, well, I'm in a tournament too. I said, that's great. Go find your own dock. So there, etiquette goes both ways in the kayak world and the boat world. Yes, we talk about like Nolan, perfect example, going back to Susky. I had to cut across where Nolan was fishing to get down to my spot because the water went down overnight, like 6 inches. And I would have had to drag my kayak through basically very low water. So I cut across where he was, and he said, hey, I hope you don't mind. I'm in the lead right now. And I said, well, at that point I didn't know him. I said, I'm Abby. And he goes, oh, you're behind me. He goes, I thought you were a girl. All 6'4", 260 pounds. I mean,
I guess that's possible these days.
And but he goes, no, I don't mind. He goes, but can I ask you a favor? When we get down to the end where it opens up into the river, I missed a pretty good fisher yesterday. You mind if I take a couple casts? I said, no, I ain't gonna kill me waiting a minute. So he took 2 casts. He goes, they're not there. I said, man, go ahead and take. He took like 5, 6 casts, and I floated down to my spot. But that's the kind of etiquette it should be.
Sure. Yeah. Mutual respect.
And he even thanked me on his YouTube thing later, and talked about the etiquette thing. And I was like, well, that's kind of a given, but
should be.
Apparently it's not. Apparently it's not. Coming from the boat world, I see, and no, don't take any offense to this, guys. I know you guys fish boat tournaments, but I see how some of these guys treat the kayak guys.
Oh, I say it all the time.
100%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've seen a guy literally tell a guy he needs to get his kayak out of the way. He was off the side of the ramp, okay, and he wanted to beach his boat, and he literally pulled up and bumped into his kayak on purpose. And I was like, well, this dude's going to get smacked in the mouth.
Yeah, right.
There's already been one kayak guy, actually, he's from North Carolina, the guy who did it. This guy started with him, and I think the guy threw the first punch, but this guy as big as I am, he got up on his boat and he beat the living hell out of this guy.
Well, when you got a glass jaw, bro, don't be running your mouth. You know what I mean?
So yeah, he got the last word on that one.
So go ahead.
No, but as far as etiquette goes, I mean, when you're staying with guys, everybody pretty much knows, hey, I'm going to be fishing this area. Well, I'll stay out of there then. I won't go back there. Even pre-fishing, don't go back and pre-fish somebody's spot that they've already pre-fished and caught fish.
Go sword lip them all. Yeah, that's pretty rude.
And but I would never purposely go in and sword lip somebody's fish the day before a tournament. But there are guys that do that.
Yeah.
And that's just not the boat world, that's the kayak world too.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
There's a little bit more etiquette on the kayak side that I've witnessed from being from the boat side. The boat side's more secretive about their baits and everything. Kayak guys, I tell them, hey, and Jody will tell you. He'll tell you what he's catching on. you still got to be able to catch them. You know, just
And
because
it's hard to catch another. It's hard to catch another angler's fish too. I mean,
just because I tell you what I'm throwing doesn't mean you're going to go. It might not work.
Perfect example was you and Jody on Logan Martin, right? He wasn't catching the fish, and he was doing almost the exact same thing as you, right? So even your partner,
we were doing the same exact thing.
Same thing. Go ahead.
You know, I don't. The only thing I can attribute to it that I see the difference was the trailer. You know, then he caught some big fish, 2 big fish after that to call up. So whether that was it or not, Jody is a remarkable fisherman. And, you know, and I have nothing but respect for. I look up to Jody. So I'm not going to say that was the winning thing, you know, just because I was using it, you know, but when he asked me what the difference was, that was the only difference between what we were throwing.
Right.
And, you know, it just has a little bit bigger profile. That's all. And I was out on Erie the other day, and it was too windy. It was getting kind of sporty out there. So I went back in the lagoons, and I was throwing an EVO in the lava color, EVO chatterbait in the lava craw, where it has green pumpkin, orange blade, has orange blade, green pumpkin on top, and orange on the bottom, with a fire craw trailer on the back. And I was getting some bites, but then I switched over. I said, okay, well, I went to a regular fire craw jackhammer with the black blade with the same trailer and fire craw trailer. And I literally just wrecked them. And it just goes to show you one little thing. You know, I think maybe the orange blade was just a little too much.
Yep.
One little thing, and I caught three largemouth over 5 pounds.
You was in by the houseboats, weren't you?
On that little pond they call Erie?
He was in the lagoon by the houseboats. I know right where he was at, because I've gone in there and freaking whacked some big old largies in there.
He just gave that juice away.
I was over on the Misery Bay side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't know.
No, that's a good lagoon too.
But no, that's a good area where you're talking about too, over the marina.
Yep.
Where it goes back. But you can't get under that bridge. You can if you put all your rods down, your power poles out. You know, you have to take everything down to get under it. And literally, I have to sit on the floor of my kayak to get under it because it's that low. So there's more room on the other side over by Misery Bay.
I got you.
I was out in the bay, so I just went over there. And but I probably caught 25, 30 largemouth after that.
That Presque Isle area, there's so much fun when those largemouth are in there eating like that. Catching them is a blast. And there's some big ones, guys. Everybody gets hung up. You know, we had Destin on last weekend, talked about fishing Erie and smallmouth in general, and everybody gets hung up on catching smallmouth. But there's plenty of times when I was up there where if the smallmouth weren't on, you just went and hunted down those largemouth and you could have a blast.
They're 6, 7. I know that somebody caught an 8 out there. Back here where you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna drive from North Carolina up to Erie and try not to catch smallmouth. You know what I mean? Like I have to go hunt those brownfish down. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, and this is for the kayak anglers listening too, when you're planning a tournament and practicing, and boaters are supposed to do this too. You're supposed to build in local pressure. You're supposed to build in recreational boats, all those other things into your calculus. When you plan as a kayak angler, are you building in local boat pressure, recreational boating, all that other stuff into the areas that you choose to fish?
No, I don't. I go with what presents itself, the pattern. Yeah. So I know what I'm going to go in. I know the first thing that I'm throwing is a jackhammer because it's hands down the best search bait there is. You know, you can cover a ton of water with it, and I want to know if there's big fish in the area. So that's the quickest way for me to know if there's a big fish in the area. And you know, I usually have 2 rods, 2 Cash and Chattergrass rods tied up with 2 different kind of an EVO and a jackhammer on it. So that's what I'm throwing. I could have literally taken one rod with me that day.
Yeah.
On Logan Martin. I think it was just a comfort thing having all 6 rods on there.
Yeah. And comfort with with baits too goes a long way. Like you said, when you're practicing search and the first thing you're picking up is that that jackhammer, that's your comfort bait.
Yeah.
And that's important is fishing. And we've talked about it before with the pressure, and that was a good question, Trey. But I never really take that into consideration either, like when I practice or anything, because somebody's got to do the exact same thing I'm doing the exact same way I'm doing it. Like we can find fish in the same area. It doesn't mean you're going to catch them.
Not having history on a lake is, I think, really good.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
I like going into lakes that I've never fished before. For example, 2 weeks ago, it was Lake Norman. And I was actually supposed to fish with Corey that week, and he ended up getting COVID.
Yeah, he got the Rona.
Yeah, and
that's still going around.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday, I go in there, and I wreck them with a jackhammer. And I kept on hearing there's not really that big fish, and size wise in Norman, like pound wise, and I was like. I had 93.5 inches or 94 inches on practice of largemouth. Again, never caught a spot until the first day of tournament. The whole lake's full of spots, and I catch largemouth. And
that's a good thing to happen on Lake Norman.
Yeah. It's a very good thing on Lake Norman.
So I found a pattern skipping under docks again, and I called Corey. I was like, dude, I said, the same thing I was on down Low Martin's working. And so Thursday comes around, that bite just completely turned off. We had low pressure come in. There was a front to come in. It was going to get cold Friday night. I literally had to live scope all my fish under docks with a shaky head.
Yep.
And I just caught 5 fish. I just squeaked by with like 70 something inches. No, I had 80 inches on day 1. And that's how I got them. Completely different what I did.
That sounds like Lake Norman to me.
Yeah.
She can be like that.
They got into that finicky time where they're getting ready to go on the beds.
Yep.
And as soon as you throw a bait in there, they're gone.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I knew it was coming because the way they were setting up the other day, and the females were in there because I caught all females. They were doing the same thing, slapping at it, and I was like, all right, they're getting ready to move under these docks. And Friday I went just to check, Thursday I went back over to check. There wasn't a fish to be found back here where those beds were.
Yep.
And so Friday morning, I waited till the sun came up, then went back in there, and they were there, but they would not touch it.
So you had to soak a shaky head.
Yep.
Yeah. That's Carolina staple, man. That's a Southern staple. I think it's becoming a staple everywhere now. Shaky head. It just works, man. It's a great bait. I mean, if you're not going to burn something, shaky head's a great thing. Love, similar to a jig, but sometimes they won't eat the jig either, and you got to go shaky head on them.
Weren't eating the jig because I was skipping the jig on the dock too, and they weren't eating that.
Yeah.
But so day 2 comes, and I catch one on top water first thing in the morning, a spot, 17-inch spot. That was it until 2:30. I was literally getting ready to just pull out, and I'm back at the ramp now, and I was fishing. What was that ramp called?
Queen's Landing.
No,
Blythe.
Stumpy Creek.
Stumpy
Creek. Yep.
So I get back to the ramp, and I was like, you know what? It was 2:35. I was gonna get out. I pulled right by the ramp, and I was like, I hate giving up. I really do. I hate giving up. And so there's a little cove right there where the launch is.
Yep.
And I turn around towards the ramp. I went back and I spun around towards the ramp, and I see this guy power load his boat. and all of a sudden I see all these fish come up and chasing bait. Like, so I took a wacky worm.
That's right.
I threw it right onto the ramp. I mean, right on the ramp. And I caught a 16-inch spot. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So, and I caught 6 fish. And with 2 minutes ago, I caught my last fish. I called. And I still came in like 52nd place or something like that. Or 57. I don't even know what place.
But you had a limit. You had a limit.
It's
I got my limit. I got my limit, and I got decent points. Right now, I already got some automatic submission for winning to the tournament of champions. This will be my 3rd one. So hopefully this year I could do something there. But I'm just chasing Angler of the Year kind of thing.
Yeah. Where's the TOC at this year?
Sandy Cooper.
Ooh. When is it?
First week in November usually.
That could be a fun one.
We won't have to worry about losing the lower unit, though. That's a good thing.
Yeah, with a kayak.
Yeah, you can get in it. And you're going to be able to access. Yeah. I wanted to ask you the kayak world. This will be one of my last questions, and I'll turn it over because I always run my mouth. We've seen the glide bait get real popular, the glide bait game and stuff. We all know like finesse fishing.
That's for that.
So I was going to ask you, like, is that something you're seeing more and more in the kayak world? Guys and gals are throwing giant big glide baits.
If you're Casey Reed.
Funny you say that, because like Norman, that it turned into a glide bait bite for a lot of those guys. And I am not a glide bait guy.
Neither am I.
I don't understand it. I'm trying to. So Jordan Marshall, I don't know if you know who Jordan is.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan is really good with a glide bait. Same with Eric Thomason. And I'm good buddies with those two. And I said, all right, I need a one-on-one. I set up Eric for Ned fishing because Southern guys don't Ned fish.
Nope.
That's like a curse word to them. And
the turd.
Yeah, they're missing out.
I set Eric up with a bunch of Z-Man stuff. I said, all right, here's what you do in this situation. He calls me. He's like, dude, I caught my first smallmouth on Ned. So he's been putting some time into it. He goes, you're going to have to do what I did with the Ned with the glide. Do nothing but take a glide rod out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's so hard for me. He's got a box.
Like Pete.
I think it's a California something tackle or this LA Coast box or something like that. It has about $5,000 worth of glides in it.
Yeah, it's like a giant glide bait humidor, man.
And he's like explaining to me. I said, "You're talking. You know how I talk to you about Ned fishing? That's how you're talking right now."
You don't throw a mag draft or a Megalodon or anything like that.
I've been throwing a mag draft and the Z-Man diesel. They make a 5 and a 7-inch diesel. I've been throwing that, and I've had some success with that. But that's a swim bait. That's not a glide bait. The glide bait is tricky.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Is it the reel that makes it do the glide, or is it the rod? Do you have to move the rod? That's what I need the one-on-one on.
One or the other. Just use one or the other. You can do it with either one, but whichever you're more comfortable. Like, I like using the reel, but that's because that's what I worked with. But I know guys that throw them and they use the rod and have the same results. So you just got to figure out what you're comfortable with. And
you just got to catch one fish on it. I don't throw glides, and I've never caught a fish on a glide bait, so I don't have any confidence in it at all.
Same here. So I don't have the patience with it.
That's right.
So,
yeah,
that they're throwing these things on the Susky and catching giant smallmouth in a river, for small. They're throwing 7-inch glides.
That's crazy.
So I don't know. I just don't have the.
Just gotta put the time in.
Yeah.
I don't have the faith in it yet, but I am getting better at. I do 2 things. I finesse or I jackhammer.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. I'll throw some top water But for me, I know that if I put the time in with that jackhammer or that EVO, that I'm going to get the 5 bites I need.
I need to do what you do. I just need to put a chatterbait or a bladed jig of some sort in my hand and just go throw it all day long, because it's not a bait. I used to be very confident in it when it first came out. It's just not a bait that plays for me, but probably because I don't throw it enough. I wanted to ask you last question. Sorry, last question, guys. Last question. Totally random. Do you take your guitar on the road with you and when you're in the house with the guys and do some singing and stuff, raise morale a little bit?
Yep.
That's fire, dude.
There's been times that Ryan posted stuff on KBN. We'll every night pretty much we're throwing bags. We're throwing, cornhole, and I'll pull the guitar out. And then this last tournament at Logan Martin, Jody and I both took our guitars, sat there and jammed. We did that to Susky too. So
there's another band. You got a new band started, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jody's a good picker. He's a really good picker.
He is. Yeah, he is.
And he comes from a bluegrass background. And I thought, I love bluegrass music. I just don't. That's a whole different kind of picking.
Yes, it is. I may or may not have drank about 30,000 beers when I was underage to some of Abby's music, because he was. So shout out to all my Pittsburgh folks. I know you used to hear Abby on Froggy and Y108 and watching the video with Mr. Roethlisberger out there when he was a fresh young rookie.
Yeah, that was after his first Super Bowl win. Actually, we were supposed to shoot the video on a Tuesday, or I'm sorry, on a Friday, and Ben wrecked on his motorcycle on Tuesday.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so we postponed the video for 4 weeks until he got better, which miraculously, I don't even know how. I mean, I guess when you're making that kind of money, you can have the best surgeons. But he literally on his kitchen counter, he had a skull, a replica of what it looked like the Terminator, of what they put in his face, all the metal. Mm-hmm. They gave him a replica of this is what's in there, what and where, and it looked like the Terminator.
Wow,
that's awesome. That's insane.
I mean, I remember the story of him getting in the wreck and all the blow up that caused.
Oh yeah,
but I didn't realize there was all his face and everything too. And
I didn't realize that was right, because if you watch the video, you would never know. Like,
well,
it was 4 weeks after that.
So there's a part of WQED did a documentary on us, PBS. And they did a behind the scenes where there's footage, and if you watch the interview of the making of the video, you could see some of the scars from his accident that were still healing. But we used to hoop at his place nonstop. Like, all the wide receivers come over and the running backs on. We'd play pickup games every day, literally almost every day, and during the summer. And this is probably like the third week. He shouldn't even been playing basketball. And by the way, he's a better basketball player than he is football player, believe it or not.
I've heard.
And when you put him in face in 3-point range, it's money every time. Like, more he's guarded, the better he shoots. And I literally smacked him right in the face. But by accident. And of course, everybody just froze. He's like, it's all good, man. And I hit him pretty hard, because he went up for a shot, and I went up to block it, and I missed the ball in his face.
Yeah, we shot bows with him quite a bit when he got into the archery. My buddy Steve owns the Archer's Edge. He came in there and bought a bow, and with his dad eventually, and they got super into archery hunting, and got to hang out with him and Brett. He got Brett Kiesel in there, and we got to shoot bows with them guys some. And
Brett's a good guy.
Yeah, Brett's a really good guy.
Brett works with 84 Lumber as well. I'm sponsored by 84 Lumber, and as my title sponsor, and Brett works with them as well. So I know there's some events him and I are going to be doing together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Does outdoors too up here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know he does the kids charity thing with the trout fishing every year, and
84 sponsors.
Okay.
they sponsor that event. So yeah, he does a lot of good things up here for the outdoors and kids.
Absolutely.
Trey, you good with questions?
Yeah, I'm good.
I mean, I know you say last one about 5 times every episode.
That's the way.
No, so I've got one. Take us back, 3 or 4 years ago when you first got on that kayak, and of course you were hooked right away because you got your Hobie the next week. But what was it about kayak fishing that just clicked for you?
First, I will say major adjustment. Being on a 21-foot boat, then going to that. I think it made me a better fisherman, to be honest with you, because you just can't jump on a 250 horsepower motor and go 4 miles down the lake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to be more methodical and planned out where you're going to fish and what you're going to do, the area you're going to cover. It's a little bit easier now that we're allowed motors. So that makes it a lot easier. It doesn't make it any better as far as jumping and going 4 miles down a lake, you know, but I pedaled probably 15 miles in a day, 20 miles during a tournament. You know, there's some spots like that. Okay, where Jody and I fished in Logan Martin, it was 3.5 miles every morning through to that bay back where we were fishing. So to give you an idea how far we do go, you know.
How long does that take you?
About 30 minutes, 35 minutes, because you're going about 4.5 mile an hour. You know, you want to conserve battery as much as possible. We each had 2 batteries for that tournament, so but still, even I can go 5.5. Jody can probably, he's in a Hobie, so he can go about 6 mile an hour. My boat's like a tank. It's 41 inches wide, 12.5 foot long. And so I push more water when I'm going 5.5 mile an hour, even though I'm going 5.5. It's just I get a better pace going at 4.5 miles per hour than I do at 5.5.
Uh-oh.
He fell off.
He fell off. He probably accidentally hung up.
Or he got a call or something. It's all good. We'll bring him back on here in a second.
There's certain things I found. I think skipping's way easier on a kayak than it is on a boat.
I can get behind that.
You know, because you're on that level right there. And I like my kayak because the seat sits up real high, and I bought 2-inch risers to even bring it up higher. So it puts me, I have 2 graphs. One's dedicated to the live scope, and the other one I use for maps and down imaging. And being my seat's up here now, I can skip over top of the graphs without a problem. But yeah, I mean, I like it because you can get in a lot of places where boats can't.
Yeah.
And a lot of sneaky, you know, you get in between docks, tight docks, and I can roll in there and just power pull down with no motor on, you know, where a boat is rolling in there. And now there's a big presence there. You know, my presence is minimal. And I'm talking for finicky fish, you know.
But I think even though you like to power fish a lot, I still think naturally being in a kayak, it still slows you down, right? Like we always talk about, like if you think you're going slow, you're not going slow enough. Like, and I've even seen it where Pete will put his hand in his pocket and hold a bait in the strike zone.
I have to put my hand.
Yeah, he has to, right? But you know, like it's a forcing function being in a kayak. Like you said, you have to break water down, more methodical. And even if you are whipping a chatterbait around, like you're still getting in areas and whipping it around where a boat maybe just make 2 casts and then they're gone. You might make 2 casts, but you may make 2 of the very precise casts where you just can't get in a boat, you know? So it is slowing you down naturally.
Because that is probably one very big thing I've learned from Jody, how Jody picks apart things. And perfect example, when I was at Erie the other day, there's a seawall and it's only like 20 yards long. But I know fish like to go up against it when water's colder because it holds heat. It's iron. So, I made probably 5 casts, the same cast, parallel to the wall, as close as I can get to the wall. And on the 6th cast, that fish ate it.
Yep.
So, just that's one thing I learned about boat guys, watching boat guys. When I'm in the kayak, 2 casts, 2 casts, they're gone.
Yep.
On a dock. They hit the outside poles, inside. That's it. They're gone.
Yep. And I'll give you a perfect anecdote with that too. Pete and I were on the phone at Lake Gaston a couple weeks ago, and he had his talons down, and we were just sitting there, and I had made the same skip under the same dock probably 6 or 7 times. And as soon as Pete hung the phone up with Mike and Nick on that like 7th cast, I got bit. The same spot, making this, just ran because I was just bored, just picking this dock apart, making the same skip.
Yep.
And I got bit, and I was like, what the heck, man? Like, so in if I would have been fishing it regularly, I would have made that skip maybe once, maybe twice, and I would have moved on. Right. Yeah. So it just goes to show you, like, either the fish was there the whole time, just like up against that seawall, or you threw there 5 times and attracted the fish from another location, and on that 6th time it bit. So you never know unless you can see it.
Angle is a big thing. There's places where you look at a dock and that's fishy. That looks like a spot where a fish would be. So I'll take that if I see that spot, and I'll hit it 3 or 4 different ways. Mm-hmm. And most of the time I catch a fish off of it.
I do have one more question. Yep. Do you strap a flogger on your back when you go out to Lake Erie?
No. You know what? I get all these guys. I know Christine Fisher. She has a flogger she uses. But I've gotten so good at bed fishing because of Erie that with naked eye, I'm pretty good at it. Just, knowing where to throw, and, if it's a deep bed, you got to throw towards the outside of the bed, because it's going to fall down. It's going to fall down, pretty much into it if you throw past a little bit. Yeah. But I don't use that, and I don't ever. I never used one, period. I know Matt Becker. So Matt and I'm good friends with Matt, and Matt's from up here in our area. He fishes the BPT, and he won Angler of the Year last year. Yeah. And I texted him that day, and I was like, "Hey, dude, not too many people say they could beat Van Dam on his last retiring." That's going to get out in history. You beat him on Red Crest, whatever. But but yeah, I mean I know he uses it. I can't. I just did it the old-fashioned way, just learning. Yeah. We're gonna be on. We're gonna be on that at Cayuga. We're gonna be there June 1st, and that's exactly when Bass Pro Tour was there last year. Actually, I think it was part of the latter part of the week they were there. We had missed the smallmouth bed. When we went up there 2 weeks later, the largemouth were moving in. So we're going to hit it perfect. So it's going to be a big smallmouth bed game. Mm-hmm. And I know
are you just fishing the Hobie BOS?
No, I'm fishing Bassmaster too.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a perfect example. Bassmaster, 258 guys on Lake Murray this year, sitting in 14th place on day 1. Day 2, I caught 3 fish, 2 fish. My pattern, and I literally only fished 100-yard stretch of a 1.5 mile stretch that I had to fish. And on day 1, I only fished a 100-yard stretch of it, and I was sitting at 14th on day 1. The jackhammer bite just disappeared on me. I don't know what happened.
That's so frustrating. I think the most frustrating part, and maybe you can probably attest to this, it's Yeah, I didn't catch a limit, but I don't know why I didn't. I think that's the biggest reason. Like you always try to like get closure on it, figure out what was I doing wrong.
Yeah.
And the reality is like we really never know.
Yeah.
You know, because it's probably not like you weren't around the fish, but sometimes you just can't make them bite, you know, and that's frustrating when you're like, dude, I don't know what I did wrong. So
I know.
that's the best part of it too, is it just challenges you. Like you said, you're a competitor, like challenges you to get out there and do it better next time, you know?
Yeah, it's a long ride home after that. You know, you beat yourself up.
He goes and sneaks onto the lake after that.
Yeah.
What could I have done different? You know, but honestly, nothing changed from day one to day two. And I like, it was muddy water, like chocolate. Yeah. I like muddy water because for me, that's when that jackhammer bite is on fire. You know, it's a reaction bite. It's, and that you were talking about using a jackhammer. You don't have confidence in it anymore. Burn that thing.
Yeah, for sure,
because
dude.
People that fish it slow, I don't think they get the bites. They miss more bites because when you get that reaction bite, when you're reeling fast, they grab it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a reaction. So I learned, I use a 7-3 to 1 or 7-4 to 1. And I move it. Yeah. You can see in any of my videos I post where I'm fishing. They're pretty much all fishing jackhammer. And you can see I'm moving it pretty good. You know, so.
Well, speaking of all your like where people can watch your videos and stuff, man, like, you know, you got a lot of people behind you that support you through your journey. You're fishing, you know, national level trails and things like that. So, you know, obviously it can't be done without backside support. So, first and foremost, who are all the people that you want to thank for the support and plug into the show?
I'll start out with Z-Man. I've been with Z-Man for 6-7 years now. I was on him with the boat side, and you know, it was just as a pro staff position. And then when I went over to the kayak side, they moved me up to the pro team, and with me, Drew, Gregory, Ryan Lambert, and Jody Queen. So we're the 4 guys for that, but on the kayak side. And then 84 Lumber is my title sponsor. There's a lot of history there with 84. You know, I know Maggie, the owner. She sponsored the band back in the day, and Pete knows that our bus was wrapped with 84 Lumber.
Yep.
And but that all happened by accident. Well, not by accident. She reached out to me via Facebook and said, "Man, I love that you're chasing your second dream. You know, I love, you know, I used to love fishing when I was a little girl." She goes, "Let's grab lunch." You know, so we met up. She goes, "I think we should start working together, guy. I love what you're doing. I'd like to support you." And so that like came out of the blue.
That's fantastic.
So I signed a 2-year deal with them. They wrap my truck. A lot of old guys think I work at 84 Lumber. They always ask me,
"Yeah, can you give me some 2x4s
on lumber?" Honestly, God, there isn't a week that goes by I don't answer an old guy. What kind of discount you get on lumber?
I need to build a shed.
Meanwhile, it says Z-Man fishing online, everything fishing on it. You know, all my sponsors are wrapped on it, and they did a really cool wrap. They have their own wrap company called 84 Signs, and it's got a big flag on the side of it, and their logo and all my other sponsor logos. Native, I've been with Native for 1.5 years. Got to be a part of the design team on that Titan X, which I love. Fishing Online, which is a local company here out of, I guess you would say they're out of the Keys Rocks area, Beaver area. And then Cash and Rods. You know, I used to fish Cashin' back in the day, like when they first come out, and it's kind of full circle for me. I loved Cash and Rods, but you know, I knew Paul Benson. I met him on the road, and he got me into some Cash and Rods. And you know, back then there wasn't any really. That's when he first started, so there wasn't any really support for the anglers. And then and then when Jody kind of introduced me to that again. And Yeti, I've been with Yeti for a long time. I'm just going down my list. Z-Pro batteries, lithium batteries, just signed on with them. Great batteries. I love the Bluetooth battery where I know how much.
Oh yeah.
That is key for a kayak guy because you don't have any way of telling. Now I can just pull up my app and look, oh, I got 50% left. Sniper Marine, their live scope mount is hands down the best live scope mount I've ever used. You just literally turn a handle like a motorcycle throttle, and it's so smooth. It has a big arrow on top, so you know where you're throwing at. Let's see here. I'm just trying to think. Sims, been with Sims for a good while. Stoney's beer.
There it is.
I just signed a deal with Stoney's beer last.
No, that is awesome, dude.
They are doing a big push on outdoors fishing for their beer, and there's going to be some billboards up here with me on it with a kayak, and lifting the fish out of the water, and
that's awesome.
Might even get a can. I might even get myself on a can. Who knows?
You're gonna have to hook it up if you get some Stony beer, Abby Abbondanza.
They can push a care package right down here. To North Carolina.
I can get him an address.
And then let's see. I'm sorry, I'm just drawing a blank here a little bit. Sunline. By the way, if you're not fishing there, they have a chatterbait line. It's called Dew Strike. It's fluorocarbon, but it's got a little bit more stretch than fluoro. Hands down the best, and there's no memory to it. That's the biggest thing I love to it. You get the curls no matter what you do. I don't get any curl from it. Cast beautiful, and I'm using 16-pound Dew Strike with that. Man, I can't think of them all right now, but I mean, it's good when you have that kind of support team.
Absolutely.
Just trying to think of some. I'm trying to envision my truck on the back here.
That's okay. We're gonna link all your
Torpedo.
stuff.
Yeah, Torpedo.
Yeah. That is a huge part now that we're allowed to use motors. That is, man, hands down the best motor for a kayak. But yeah, other than that, I have some really great support team, and that does make a huge difference when you have that kind of support. Where if you need something right away, they're on top of it. And it helps when you do well too. That their products get known as you grow with that.
That's
so right. As far as my social goes, most of my handles are Abby Abbondanza Fishing. That's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and then I have another page on Facebook that has 5,000 friends on it. It's just Abby Abbondanza.
Okay.
And then,
what about your MySpace?
Yeah, my MySpace. Yeah. And then I don't have a Twitter, but the band social is just THW Band 1. The number 1. And I think we have between Facebook and Instagram, we have 21,000 followers on there.
That's awesome.
So I utilize that too. I'll cross market that stuff
for sure, dude.
And one thing I give back to my sponsors, if they need me, Bubba's another one.
Bubba, yep.
Yeah, at iCast, I play at the Bubba party every year on Thursday. And so that's one thing I offer my sponsors. Hey, if you have a party, or I can come play the party. That's something that a lot of fishing guys can't offer.
Yeah. So I can't offer that.
I mean, I can play. It's not going to be good.
I can't play nothing.
Neither can I. You don't want me to sing either.
With the band stuff and my own stuff, I have probably 35,000 followers.
That's awesome.
So it's a good cross marketing, and most people of fall country music are outdoor people.
Yeah.
So especially the guys. So get a lot of cross marketing there.
I think, are you going to come down to Cashin for their customer appreciation this year? I thought Chelsea had mentioned something about that.
Yeah. So Chelsea tried to get me last year, and this past year. I think it was December 1st. I think it was.
Somewhere around there.
December 1st or 2nd. Yeah.
And I had a show booked I couldn't get out of. Yeah, I already had it booked for a couple months. And but yeah, I do have that in my calendar to hopefully be down there this year. Yep.
Well, good. You'll have to bring some Stoney's beer for these guys so they can experience that.
He's light.
That's good. That's good local beer up there.
Yeah.
Well, Abby, go ahead.
Thanks for having me on here, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate you coming on.
I've definitely enjoyed this.
Yeah, dude. Congratulations on your victory. Like you said at the beginning, they're few far in between. But you know, when it's your time, and we definitely appreciate you sharing that experience with us. Especially for all the listeners that, you know, listen. This is a very, very humbling, whatever you want to call it, sport, gambling opportunity, all the above, right? It's very humbling. And you lose a heck of a lot more than you win, but you know, it's just whatever motto you want to follow. But you know, when it's your time, it'll happen, you know, and it may never happen, but it doesn't mean that it won't be great. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of guys that have fished the Elite Series or any other major tours that are around the country that have never had a victory, and they've been extremely successful. Does it mean that they don't want that trophy? No, they want it. But you know what? It's a constant state of learning and adapting to change, to technology, to the cultural changes that are happening in the industry, right? Like all those things are important, and you know, we can hang our hat high on continuing to try to do better. So, what you got? What you guys got?
No, like Trey said, just mirror that. I appreciate you coming on and sharing a lot of insight, especially into that tournament, kind of breaking that whole day down. I think that was really, really important for people to hear kind of the highs and lows, you know, and how it can happen. And to, you know, we always accredit it to Ike, but he's not the only one that said you don't ever want to give up. He just most famously said it when he caught that classic winning fish at the buzzer a few years back. But I think you showed that, you know, you were struggling, you were able to put together what you needed to win, stuck with your guns and what was working, and really appreciate you sharing that with everybody and some of the other insight you gave to our anglers. Abby, we're gonna sign off, hang out for a minute. Just real quick, everybody, if you haven't joined our giveaway, make sure you jump in our Fishing Friday. You can learn how to get in on that. We've got 5 more months of prize, 4 more months of prizes, 4 more months of prizes. So
I want to thank. I got one more person I want to
thank. Go for it.
And I know you guys are sponsored well, Hobie Eyewear.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I didn't get the Sight Masters yet, but I have to have glasses that have cheaters in them. So
well, just make sure you order from our link.
But I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, no, Hobie Eyewear is awesome.
Yeah, no, definitely is a big game change when you have a good glass you can depend on.
Absolutely. So Abby, again, thank you for everything. Thank you for sharing all the information. Thanks for talking about the ethics and like we talk about all the time. It's conversations like these and being open and honest with each other that's going to help us continue to cultivate a culture of anglers, helping anglers one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.